Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. Sometimes I go into Uncle Boyce mode, and Uncle Boyce mode is when I feel compelled to share things that I think can be helpful to other people. You don't have to take the advice, of course, but this is all presented for those of you that want to hear things from a man's perspective that maybe don't have uncles or a dad or somebody to kind of share certain information with you. I thought I would answer a question that somebody sent me. I received a question. How you doing, Leela? Good to see you. I got this question from a young lady who was asking how you know the difference between men that are ready for marriage and men that are not. And I speak of this topic on in a gender specific kind of way, not because I don't think that there are men who are seeking marriage, but because I kind of feel from what I've observed that it's women who tend to be the most interested in marriage as an idea, and the men will do it, but I don't think we're as eager typically as ladies might be. And so for example, I'll hear a woman say, "He wasted 3 years of my life, and didn't marry me." And I don't hear a lot of men who say that. I don't hear men say, "Well, she wasted 3 years of my life. She gave me lots of good sex for 3 years, and that was a waste of time. I wish she hadn't spent 3 years giving me good sex." Like, men don't typically think that way. So anyway, let me kind of give a perspective on marriage. So Calix says marriage is dead. I don't think marriage is dead. But it might be dead for Calix, right? So obviously, Calix is a guy that probably wouldn't be interested in marriage. He wouldn't be a good target for this kind of conversation. You would date a guy like Calix if you are seeking a different kind of relationship, right? So the first thing, you might already know some of these things. If I tell you something you already know, then forgive me, but this is really just to be helpful, and this is an honest perspective based on what I've seen. So first off, you may have heard this, but men, when they say men put women in categories, they really do. There are at least, I would say, three categories. There is the purely physical interest, maybe the sexy stripper at the club or whatever. Where you're not gonna bring her home, you're not gonna take her home to mama. She's not gonna be your girlfriend. And then there might be the girlfriend who you might take home to mama, depending on what kind of guy you are. And but you're not going to marry her, right? Because you can't marry everybody, right? Just because someone doesn't want to marry you, that doesn't mean that you are not good enough. Like, I had a woman once ask me a long time ago, why wasn't I good enough for you to marry me? And I said, you were great, you were amazing. I said, but the problem is that it's a race where there can only be one winner. And so Alicia, my fiance, you know, she was just the best. She was number one. So it doesn't mean that number two, three, four, and five were not extraordinary, but you have to be number one for somebody, right? So give me a yes or no if you can hear this. Actually, let me know if you're able to hear me. Okay, can you guys hear me? Give me a yes in the chat. This is just so I can make sure that I'm coming through all right. So that's the first thing. Categorization. I think you have to be aware that everybody's not put in the same category, and that this plays a part in what the plans are for you. So think of it like going to work for a company. Just because the company hires you, that doesn't mean they want to make you the CEO. They may hire you so you can be the marketing manager, or they may hire you so you can work in the mailroom. They may hire you so you can be the vice president, right? So you got to kind of know, not just like, if I go to Walmart and I say, or wherever, and I say, give me a job, would I want to work at Walmart? Well, there's no yes or no. There's no yes or no answer to that. It depends on what job I get. What's my salary? What's my position in the company? If I'm working at the cash register, then no, I don't want to work at Walmart. But if I get to be the CEO and fly on private jets and make $10 million a year, then that's great, right? So I think when you go work at a company, you can't just think about the fact that you're working at that company. You got to say, what's my position in that company? How interested is this company in investing in me, right? So I think that with men, this is just honest, raw advice. I mean, give me a yes if you're okay with me being honest. Like, I don't want to just be politically correct. I'd rather be correct and share what I hear when I talk to guys and what I see. So so you have those three levels, right? The purely physical interest, where you just maybe hit it and quit it type stuff. Everybody has that, I guess. And then there's like the girlfriend boyfriend type situation. Like, I'll date you for a while, maybe 2 years, 3 years, maybe even bring you home to mama. But my wife, I have not met my wife yet. And until I meet my wife, I've got to find something to do during that time. It sounds terrible, but it's true. And then there's that highest level. the wife, like, oh my God, the angels start singing when I walk in the room, and the river parted, and the fucking mermaids came out of the damn swimming pool, and the truth is, I would use myself as an example on that. Like when I met Alicia, I remember the moment I met her. Like I saw her across a crowded room, literally, and I was like, oh my God, who is this? And when I met her, she was so beautiful that I was literally nervous, like talking to her. And so she had a special place in my psyche that nobody else could, where no one else could join her. You know what I mean? Like it was a special kind of deep level of attraction and desire that went beyond just like, oh, she's cute, or no, she'd be a nice jump off, right? So that's the first thing I think is important to kind of know, is that people do categorize other people, and you got to know what category you're in, right? So if you think of it like picking a job, um, if someone says, would you rather work at Walmart or would you rather work at Bloomingdale's? Well, I can't make that decision based on that information. I need to know what's my position within each company. So if I'm the CEO of Walmart, I'd rather be the CEO of Walmart than to be a clerk at Bloomingdale's. But I'd rather be the CEO of Bloomingdale's than to be a clerk at Walmart. Do you follow what I'm saying? So picking the best person that's available to you may not always be the best option. You might say, well, this is the most handsome man that I've met. He's the best fit for me as a person. That might be true, but he may not have a role in his life and mind for you that is consistent with what you actually want. So there may be another guy who, let's put it on a scale of 0 to 10. So maybe you met the guy who's a 10 and he says, yeah, I can use a jump off. I need another side chick, right? But then you have another guy who's maybe an 8 who says, no, 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 you are my love, the love of my life. Like I will prioritize you above anybody else. You have 100% of me. You don't have to share me at all. Well, those are two different situations, and I think that sometimes people don't measure that. They'll just pick the best person that's available without thinking about what role they have in that situation. And also, I find that men that are ready for marriage, most men tend to feel like they have to be in a certain place financially before they're ready to be married. Like a guy that doesn't have his stuff together, that's struggling, can't pay the bills for himself. He's not usually going to want to go on and take, and pay the bills for other people. I mean, I know I hear people romanticize the idea of building together and all that stuff. Some guys don't want to build together. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I didn't want to build together, as being broke and struggling and having somebody tell me that we can't pay the rent now because I'm putting money into my business and all that. I said, no, I want to get married after I built a little something that I'm bringing to the table, so that then I can focus on the stress of maintaining a marriage without also having the stress of trying to figure out how to make a living, right? So different guys vary in that category, but but I think being financially secure, like landing that big job or moving to that next level financially, does a lot in terms of a man's relationship maturity. That's huge. Also, if he wants to be a father, like if he says, okay, I'd like to be a dad, and he starts seeing you as the mother of his child, that's a big one too, because a lot of men, I think, understand that they know you can't have a baby without a mother. So, and then based on their value system, they may also realize, it would be great if that mother was also a wife, because I can have my child in my house with me and we could just do this as a family. Now that's where family values comes into play. I think you got to look at a person's background. What did they see growing up? Remember this, that just because a man wants to marry you, that doesn't mean he's going to be a good husband. Like just because he wants to do it doesn't mean he's going to succeed. So, people who saw a healthy relationship, I really think this is important. People who saw healthy marriages as kind of a staple in their family tend to be better at marriage and all that than people who never saw that at all growing up. So you might have some dude who's like, you know what? Yeah, my dad was a bum. He was never around. I want to do better than my dad. And that's admirable. But the question is not whether you want to do better than your dad. The question is, can you? And this is something that you, you know, this is something where I think you have to gauge that, right? Maybe at least gauge their willingness to learn and shift their habits and their thinking. Because, like, if you have a guy that grew up where his mother did everything, you have to kind of watch how he carries himself to figure out, like, which parts of who he is are negotiable and can be adjusted so that he can actually become the man you need him to be, right? So for example, I'm marrying Alicia because partly because my father had a model that they showed me. He was married to my mother 46 years. I saw him be a man. I saw when he took the lead. I saw when my mother took the lead. I have these examples I can reference in my head that allow me to know how to deal with her, what to expect from a family, that kind of thing. And she has, some similar things, in terms of her relationship with her father. But if someone doesn't have a relationship that they can reference, I think it's a little bit more difficult. And also, you got to remember too that you probably have your baggage as well. Like if you had no dad in the home, then you may have some things you have to learn about dealing with men. How do you talk to a man? How do you interpret a man's behavior? Right? Men are not women. We are not the same. Right? So I think that that's a big one too. That a lot of people will find someone who has the desire to do marriage, but they don't actually have the skill set, right? So let's see. Sela says, Doc, is this talk only for not married people? Oh, well, I guess if you're married and you're thinking about not being married anymore, I guess this might work. But I would say if you are married and you want to make it better, I'm a big believer in therapy or coaching or something like learning and growing is critical. Like I had a friend who told me that his ex-wife refused to do any therapy at all. Like she had these anger issues and stuff, and had been through all this trauma, and she refused to even consider therapy. That right there is a recipe for disaster. Like, it's one thing if somebody shows up and they're not equipped to do what's necessary to make a relationship work. It's another thing when they really think that they're perfect and they don't need to change at all. People like that don't grow, and I can't imagine how you can make a marriage work with a person like that, because inherently marriage is going to require growth. Believe me, learning how to live with another person and deal with another person and work through your bullshit takes a lot of work. And it ain't like some stuff where you're just going to naturally figure it out on your own. You might need to go read some books. You need to talk to somebody. Might have to watch some YouTube videos, take a class together. Like, you better be. And if you're not, and so if you have a partner who doesn't want to do all that, then that makes it more frustrating for you because you're trying to grow and they're trying to sit still. Like, how can you grow together if one side of the body is growing and the other side is sitting still? Imagine your child if the arms and the legs grew on the left side, but nothing grew on the right side. That would be a deformed child. That would be a really awkward human being. So a relationship can be very awkward if one person wants to grow and evolve and do better, and the other person is just sitting still, acting like everything's fine. So so those are some things that I would pay attention to. So again, I think that kind of knowing what category he's kind of put you in, knowing what stage of his life he's in. Like men tend to have to kind of get some stuff out of their system in their 20s. Men over 35 tend to be better and more prepared for marriage. It doesn't mean men in their 20s can't do it, but people don't talk enough about how sexual desire can be really overwhelming for men, and this whole requirement that you can't you can't cheat in the marriage can really cause a lot of distress for guys. Like even Kobe Bryant, with some of the stuff that his wife had to endure, and I'm sure he endured things from her as well. It can get kind of messy with that. So I honestly wonder, in modern America, if marriages of people in their 20s have a real good shot at working. I think at the very least, you have to have a real strong rooting in a value system that is very pro marriage and pro family. And you have to get a lot of help. Like, I think if you're young and you get married or you're doing a relationship, like get some mentorship from a healthy older couple that can kind of help you work through your BS, so that at least you're not fighting over stupid little things, because that's what happened when I was in my 20s. If I had a girlfriend, like we would argue over just the dumbest stuff. Now I let stuff like that go. But when you're in your 20s, you think it's all a big deal, and when it's really not. So anyway, let's see, bro. Dr. Boyce is a shield, taking Black folks' attention away from serious issues. Okay, thank you. But yet you are here paying attention. Good for you. Litter appeal. Most family churches pimp or Black men pimp their daughters out to the man with the best job. Or don't let anybody pimp you. I hope that there's somebody here that has some serious things to say, because I'd like to see some serious questions. El Jeffy, that's the problem. Too much analytics and not enough living. Nobody's perfect. Everybody has problems. That is true. Sela Free, I'm happily married, not perfect. I guess I'm trying to find out this conversation benefits married couples as well. Well, one thing I can tell you is that there's a lot of good information out there about how to make a marriage work. And if you run into a problem, I'm a believer in preventative maintenance, where maybe you can actually start getting help before you have any problems. One thing I found, Sela, is that just learning some basic stuff like how to talk to somebody is huge. That'll help you de-escalate conflicts and find intimacy and resolution in your interaction. It's not easy because everybody's confused. I don't think the men know exactly what to do all the time. The women don't know what to do with the men or to do with themselves, and the men don't. The men are all over the place too. So I kind of think that there's certain cultural foundations that have to be there, and psychological foundations as well, that will increase your likelihood of things working out. So that's why I say that when you're evaluating a person for marriage, don't just look at whether they want to do it. Really give an honest assessment of whether they're going to even be able to do it well. And that usually comes from them having an example or mentorship, somebody that showed them how to, chill out and stay married, instead of blowing up over every little issue or whatever. Oh, here's another little thing. Alicia brought this up and I thought was really interesting. She mentioned the other day the study that showed that people who are highly volatile and highly emotional almost never have the ability to stay married or stay in relationships, because highly emotional, highly volatile people tend to escalate conflicts. So they get, they bring a gun to a knife fight, and so to speak. And so whenever a little thing goes wrong, they turn that little bonfire into a forest fire, and so their relationships tend to just fall apart. So I think one of the biggest things about relationships obviously is don't be an asshole and chill the fuck out. Like I think those are a couple of things don't go crazy, like relax, like it's okay. And I think also putting the group ahead of yourself is really important. So I think the people that are into all this individualism, like me, my, I, like I just want to say what I want, do what I want all the time. When I grew up in a family setting, it wasn't like that. It ain't about you, it's about the family, it's about the group, it's about the collective. And there's some people who don't grow up in that kind of environment, so they become terrorists. They terrorize every situation because they feel that expressing themselves means they got to get on everybody's nerves and say whatever they want and offend everybody, and everything's supposed to be okay. Well, it's not. Sometimes you got to get over yourself. And I think that selflessness is huge. In fact, what was it? Alicia, we were running today, and she actually mentioned she's a marital therapist actually, and she defined commitment. And she said a lot of people think commitment just means sticking it out and staying in the relationship. She said no, commitment is consistently engaging in actions that are in the best interest of your partner. Like I've committed to you because I'm showing you that I love you. Every day I ask you, how can I love you? What can I do today to make you feel loved? Right? What can I do to make your life better? I thought that was a very interesting statement. So look for somebody that's committed. Oh, here's another little secret. But this is honestly just from my perspective. I don't know if this works universally, but one thing I'll say to ladies is, marriage for some guys can be a kind of a tough thing, and like I never saw marriage as like something I really just wanted to do no matter what. It was something I was willing to do for a certain kind of person, right? I wasn't willing to do that for everybody. And and so I believe that sometimes that man who really wants to marry you might not be the number one guy that's in your universe, right? You might have a guy that's got $1 million in the bank, that's drop dead gorgeous and 6'5", and he's your dream man. But he may kind of, unfortunately, some people get arrogant, when they're really attractive. They know how many options they have, and they might just see you as an option. They don't see you as a priority. You see them as a priority. They see you as an option. What I find is that I think that really having that guy who just adores the shit out of you, like literally, like almost worships the ground you walk on. If you're able to bring yourself to find value in that kind of a man, I think men like that tend to be the best because my theory honestly is that when they say men are dogs, that's not a completely inaccurate statement. I've seen good men who can be very bad men in some situations and very good men in other situations. Some situations they misbehave, some situations they are well behaved. And I think that when a man really truly values the woman, like he's really like, oh my God, I'm not gonna mess things up with this girl, he becomes well behaved. Like you get him on his best behavior, and I hope that that makes sense. I don't know if you guys get this or not, and I don't know how crazy this sounds. I'm really just speaking into the mic, hoping somebody's benefiting from this. I have no idea how stupid I sound sharing all this, but But really, I think that that man who just adores the shit out of you, like, is like, because I can say that, like, when I think about Alicia, like, I adore her. Like, I think that, like, she, like, I consider to be a complete blessing to be with her, right? And it's like what that does is it just, you just do your best for a woman like that. Like, you're willing to kind of go the extra mile. So find your man who will do that for you. And I think that's the man who's going to be the best husband, the best dad, best everything. Because every day he's going to work to earn your love. He's going to work to impress you. And if he's a quality man, like with some discipline, like he'll do that every day, right? And that's another whole nother conversation about sort of observing someone's behavior for a while so you can determine how consistent are you, how disciplined are you, right? So anyway, I hope that this helps you. That's what it is. Raymond says, if you date for the purpose of marriage and ask the man if he's marriage minded from day one, you have a pretty clear answer. That's true. I think that can work. I think that you have to be careful with that though, Raymond, because I know that if I'm on a first date with a woman, she starts talking about marriage, that makes me a little nervous because I might not be ready to have that conversation. I might still be trying to evaluate the situation. So I think kind of being cool, like maybe starting off even as friends, can go a long way. I don't know. I'm a believer in that. Let's see, Ricky, when did you know that Dr. Alicia was the one for you? Was it? Let's see, what was it that made you say that this is the woman for me? Well, I mean, when they talk about like love at first sight and just seeing um a woman and being like, oh my god, what the fuck, like I felt that way. Like I saw her and I was like, whoa. And I went over and talked to her, sat down with her, and I met her in the library. I didn't meet her in the club. That's connected to the, I mean, think about it. We're both professors now. We both have PhDs. Only 1% of the population has a PhD. We both have PhDs. So our two black kids are growing up with two PhDs. They don't even know that that's rare, and it's connected to the fact that I met her in the library. If you want to meet a club type woman, you go to the club. I'm not a clubber, so I didn't want to meet a woman in the club. I wanted to meet a woman in the library. And um and from that moment, I was very attracted to her, right? And then also what she did that made it work for me was she was very friendly. Like, she had this great big beautiful smile. And when you smile at a man, especially a man that you like, um it does make him feel more comfortable. It really does. I know it's hard sometimes to smile because you got so many creeps out here that just say disrespectful stuff, but that smile can go a long way. So her smile went a long way. And um and also, over time we just became friends. So we know each other better as friends than we even know each other in a relationship love type capacity. So I think that friendship piece, I wouldn't underestimate that. I know also she's just a love relationship type person. She's not somebody that's gonna be twerking on the internet. Like, even when she was young, I mean, now she still looks good for her age and everything, right? She's in her 40s, but even when she was in her 20s, she wasn't that type. She wouldn't be on showing ass on Facebook and stuff. Like, I don't think women like that are cut out for marriage for a lot of men. I think men appreciate that. Like, those women will get a lot of followers, but I don't think men are looking at women like that thinking, oh, yeah, I want to bring that woman home to my mother, because your mom will see right through it. So, anyway, that's it. I got to go. I hope that this helps you. And the blacklovechannel.com is where is actually a platform we have that has, a lot of relationshipy kinds of conversations. So feel free to subscribe there. And I'm out of here. Have a good day. By the way, I'm going to be on with Willie D later on today. So if you go to Willie D's channel, he'll be live. I'll try to simulcast on some of my channels. So we're going to talk about the inauguration and all that good stuff. So have a good day, everybody. I'll see you soon. Bye bye. Peace.